Haman comes to Achashverosh and asks him for license to annihilate the Jewish people. But interestingly enough, you might have noticed in reading the Psukim that Haman never identifies that it is in fact the Jews that he wants to kill. He uses phrases like Am Echad, one nation, Mifuzarim Forad, Bein Ha'amim, who is scattered among the nations, but never to Achashverosh does he use the term HaYehudim, the Jews. So there are a number of possible ways of understanding what was actually transpiring here. A number of Mepharshim suggest that perhaps Haman never really informed Achashverosh of who he was planning to kill at all. The Gra suggests in his commentary on the Megillah that Haman was concerned that Achashverosh may have been partial to Mordechai, given that Mordechai had in fact saved his life, that had he said, I want to kill all the Jews, that Achashverosh may have responded, that's Mordechai's nation. And so therefore Haman basically frames it in such a way that Achashverosh would be distracted from the fact that this had any connection to Mordechai. The Malbim suggests somewhat differently, that what Haman's agenda here was that the way that he presented it to Achashverosh was not even a campaign of extermination at all. That Haman uses the term, when speaking to Achashverosh, of la'avdam, literally to destroy them. But the Malbim says la'avdam could be understood as meaning to eradicate their nationhood and their culture. Again, when Haman speaks to Achashverosh, much of his selling point is that this nation has different laws. Dasayam, Shonos, Mikolam. Their laws are different than every other nation, right? And therefore, in other words, it is that national character that he wishes to eradicate. And there was almost like an inquisition of sorts. And it's that which Achashverosh acquiesces to, not knowing that has anything to do with the Jews. When Haman comes to actually write the letters, the language changes and is amplified, not just la'avdam, but laharog ula'abed, to kill and to eradicate. There's no question of what the intent was. And so then, according to the Malbim, Haman deliberately was obscuring many of the details of his plan from Achashverosh. Alternatively, we could read this as another example of Achashverosh's perhaps negligible interest in the details of statecraft. Again, this is a king who prefers to spend his time carousing for 180 days. That perhaps for Achashverosh, the main part of the story is the last pasuk, V'hamelech v'Haman yashvu l'shtos. When Achashverosh and Haman sit down to drink, that's really what he's getting at. The Gemara, however, definitely believes that Achashverosh was a willing co-conspirator in Haman's plans. The Haman actually articulated exactly what he was planning to do. However, if you are going to take that approach, you have to explain why the Psukim are so elliptical. So perhaps what Haman was trying to achieve here is, at least as far as the official record was concerned, a certain plausible deniability. In other words, a kind of a winking, a use of euphemism, which certainly we've seen throughout history, how euphemism has been used in order to allow a king or any kind of major official to embark on activities that are certainly nefarious, right? But is able to cloak them so that he is able perhaps to deny it after the fact. So again, three major approaches. One is that Haman specifically obscured from Achashverosh what he was doing, and that essentially pulled the wool over his eyes, as the Gra and the Malbim suggest in different ways. The second approach is to say that really Achashverosh doesn't care, right? All he's interested in is the drinking. And finally, that Achashverosh bought into all of the details of the plan and was had as much Jew hatred as Haman, but that Haman's language essentially allows a plausible deniability on the part of Achashverosh.